Imagine a city deep in the Sahara Desert where scholars gathered from across the world to study science, medicine, mathematics, and astronomy. A city where over 300,000 handwritten books and manuscripts were carefully preserved, while much of Europe was still struggling through the Dark Ages. That city was Timbuktu, in present-day Mali. The Timbuktu manuscripts are one of Africa's greatest treasures, yet many people around the world have never heard of them. These were not simple stories or folklore. They were scientific treatises, medical journals, legal records, and detailed studies of astronomy. They showed that Africa was not just a land of kingdoms and warriors, but also a land of deep intellectual tradition. Most of these manuscripts were written between the 13th and 16th centuries. During this period, Timbuktu was at the heart of the Mali Empire, a center of trade and learning. Caravans of camels would cross the desert bringing gold, salt, ivory, and other goods. But more valuable than all of that was knowledge. Scholars came from across Africa, the Middle East, and beyond to learn, to debate, and to write. Subjects covered in these manuscripts are astonishing. They include mathematics, such as algebra and geometry. They include medicine, describing treatments for diseases, surgical methods, and even instructions on how to set broken bones. There are manuscripts on astronomy, charting the stars and the movements of planets. Others discuss agriculture, giving practical guidance on how to plant, harvest, and rotate crops in the harsh desert climate. There are even legal documents about property, marriage, and community rights, showing how sophisticated the society was at the time. One of the most fascinating parts of the manuscripts is how advanced the astronomy was. Scholars in Timbuktu recorded eclipses, predicted the movement of the moon, and even debated the nature of the universe. Some texts suggest they had an understanding of planetary orbits centuries before European astronomers gained recognition for similar discoveries. Imagine African scholars in the desert with simple tools, charting the cosmos and debating the mysteries of space. The manuscripts also reveal a great deal about medicine. Some texts talk about how to treat malaria and other tropical diseases. Others describe surgical techniques, the use of medicinal plants, and holistic approaches to healing. While much of the world considered illness a curse or punishment, the scholars of Timbuktu studied it scientifically, searching for cures and treatments. Education in Timbuktu was centered around the famous Sankore University and its sister institutions. This was not a university in the modern sense, but rather a collection of schools, scholars, and libraries. At its peak, tens of thousands of students came to Timbuktu to learn. Imagine a desert city buzzing with intellectual life, with young men and women carrying scrolls and manuscripts, debating in courtyards, and exchanging ideas late into the night. The manuscripts were written in Arabic, but also in local African languages using Arabic script. This shows the blending of cultures and the open exchange of knowledge. Timbuktu was not an isolated city. It was a crossroads of civilizations where African traditions met with Islamic scholarship, and where global ideas were translated, debated, and preserved. For centuries, these manuscripts remained hidden. Families in Timbuktu passed them down secretly, protecting them from invaders, colonizers, and even the harsh desert climate. Some were buried underground, others hidden in mud houses or wooden chests. When colonial powers came to Africa, they often dismissed African culture as primitive. They did not know that in Timbuktu, a vast library of science, medicine, and philosophy was being carefully safeguarded. Even today, many of the manuscripts remain hidden. Some have been recovered and preserved, while others are still in private hands. International organizations and local families continue to work to protect and restore them, because they are fragile and at risk of being lost forever. Each manuscript tells a story, not just of Timbuktu, but of Africa's role in global knowledge. The discovery and study of these manuscripts challenges the stereotypes that Africa had no written history or scientific tradition. They prove that African scholars were deeply engaged with the great questions of their time. What is the nature of the universe? How do we heal the sick? How can society be governed fairly? And they wrote down their answers in thousands of pages of careful handwriting, preserved through centuries of struggle. So the next time someone tells you that Africa's history is only about kingdoms, wars, or colonialism, remember Timbuktu. Remember the manuscripts. Remember that in the heart of the Sahara Desert, a city once flourished as one of the greatest centers of knowledge in the world. These manuscripts are more than just old books. They are proof of Africa's forgotten golden age of learning, innovation, and discovery. They remind us that knowledge is the greatest treasure of all, more valuable than gold, more enduring than empires. And they inspire us to ask, what other untold stories are still waiting to be discovered across Africa?